Mm.
Mm-hmm.
It was like that here in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
It was. Okay.
Okay, I guess we'll go ahead and dive in and get started. Even though we're waiting on, we had roughly 50 people signed up, so we're missing a couple of people. Normally, people are late. Again, thanks for joining us. Those of you who are here, I'm Arthur Bendoff. Everybody call me AJ. Actually, I'm the founder of ACCOLPH. The day we come together, we're to express our mission. Our mission is to increase prostate awareness, reduce the stigma, and basically save lives. We hope to do that by showing support, sharing education, and lastly, giving you the knowledge so you can move forward. Today, I'm joined by my panel members. We're addressing our ACOP here. Walter Mitchell. Walter's joining us from Virginia. Lynn Bendoff, my brother, he's joining us. And Lonnie Van Horn, he's joining us from Indianapolis. I'll give them a chance to introduce themselves. All of the men are cancer warriors and cancer survivors. So we're going to share our story. And I see a dear friend of mine, Mike Wallace, is here. So thanks for joining. Let's start and give them a chance to introduce themselves. Lynn, you go ahead. Introduce yourself.
Hello, fellas. My name is Lynn Bendoff, and I live here in Mobile, Alabama. Today the weather's been kind of bad. It turned out to be a pretty good day, even though we had some rough weather. I am 63 years old. I'm a retired police officer. Being just going in, I thought I was in pretty good, pretty good physical shape. I always tried to stay in pretty good shape because of my job required me to be in pretty good shape. Just went to the doctor for a normal physical, and just being aware, my brothers, they had prostate cancer. My dad had it. I was aware of mine, and I was the last one in the family to come down with it. Went for a physical, didn't notice anything was going on. Everything was fine. The doctor told me about cholesterol level. Okay, by being exposed, from my brothers by their PSA level and also the prostate cancer they were dealing with, I asked the doctor what was my level. That's when he had to go back and he had to look at my records himself. And during that time, it had shot up. My PSA level had shot up from around 2.0 to 4.45. And that's when he advised me that we need to go ahead and get a biopsy done. But the whole situation was, when I look back on it now, the only thing that I noticed about my body, when I came down with the prostate cancer, was that I had severe night sweat. I mean, I had severe night sweat. I would wake up in the middle of the night, my t-shirt and everything was soaking wet like I worked out. I mean, it was severe, but I thought it was because I was hot, but I guess it was my hormones or something trying to tell me when I look back on it, that was the beginning. That was the beginning of it. And from that, the doctor, okay, he checked my PSA level. My levels was high. Okay, they ordered I think the box from the box. I think it was 9 out of 12 came. Okay, 9 out of 12 came back cancer, and I was at the age of 62. And then I was thinking that if I wouldn't have did anything, because he talked about active surveillance. But I was thinking that if I didn't do anything, by the time I became 65, it probably would have spread it in other places of my body. And hopefully, thankfully, I was able to catch it early, and it was localized inside of my groin. It was localized, it was localized inside of my groin, and through radiation, we was able to, he was able to cure it all. And when I went back about a month ago, no, I went back 2 weeks ago, my prostate level was 0.88. So early detection is the key.
There you go.
Early detection is the key.
Thank you for the intro, man. Thank you. That's an
Okay.
interesting story. It comes. Everybody's journey is a little different, but
Right.
that's the point of it.
Right.
Because prostate is a different type of disease. So let's hear from Lonnie Van Horn. Lonnie.
Good evening. My name's Lonnie. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana. I was diagnosed at age 47 with a PSA of 685.
Oh my hear
Yeah. I really didn't have any symptoms leading up to that. I had a lot of pain in my legs. I had some very light urination issues. In fact, they gave me a round of antibiotics for a UTI, which, as it turns out, I didn't have. But that was in the fall of 2017. I started treatment immediately on Lupron, which is a hormone blocker, medical castration, basically. And that worked well for 8 months. But by the time I was diagnosed, the cancer had metastasized everywhere. It was in my lymph nodes. It had formed tumors in my femurs, in my hips, in my ribs, in my spine. And so, we immediately started on hormone therapy, and that worked about 8 months. And my PSA started to rise again. And so I was fortunate enough to be sent for genomic testing. And I was also fortunate enough to be linked in with a clinical trial based on the genomic testing. So I excelled very well at the trial for 3.5 years. We kept it at bay for 3.5 years. And it just started rearing its ugly head again about a year ago. And when cancer rears its ugly head, we increase the fighting, we increase the opposition. So right now I'm stable. Everything's stable again. So stable is an excellent word in this community. We'll take it. And so that's kind of my journey thus far. In a very, very, very brief nutshell.
Lonnie, your journey, no matter how many times I hear it, actually is shocking. Lonnie is first diagnosed, hope you don't mind me sharing. Lonnie, he was told it was terminal. And I can't imagine how my legs was knocked out from under me when they told me I just had cancer. But when they told me that, and Lonnie's the most positive, and hope to come back to you, Lonnie, and maybe we can talk to you about how did you handle that mentally and move forward, and that's a big part of this journey.
Right.
So before we do that, let me bring Walter in. Walter, introduce yourself.
My name is Walter Mitchell, calling from Powhatan County, Virginia. I started my journey, my personal journey. I'm 61 years old. I started my personal journey when I turned 40, right around age 40. I figure that's about the time when the wheels start to fall off. So it's time for me to go and start getting my prostate exam. My first numbers ran about 2 and 3, and then over the years, they started to grow. We're talking about 2004. At about 2015, that's when I saw my first 6, right? They said that, okay, you're starting to climb. we're going to start to have to like take this thing a little bit serious. Then they started, which is the cool thing. It's the thing, whereas we try to tell people now, you don't have to have a rectal exam. They started giving me rectal exams. I hated it. Hated it.
Right.
They start doing rectal exams. They start feeling for polyps and things as such. As the years went on, by the time it got to 2021, I'd gone from a 6 up to a 8.03. That's when they started doing biopsies. And when they started the biopsy, the biopsy, whew, people, boy, I don't want to scare anybody else away. I really don't. But everybody that's had a biopsy, a prostate biopsy, is smiling right now, because just to survive that alone, I know, this is what happens. They go in and they take samples, skin samples, out of your prostate. And the reason I'm telling you this, because I have to tell you this part of my journey. As they start to take, they took 14 samples. Now, as the story goes, the 14 samples, one of my samples came back. 1/10 of one sample came back cancerous. Total opposite of what we're talking about, of what Lonnie went through. So I said 1/10 of one sample. Got this, no big deal, right? Following year, on vacation, that was 2022. I'm on vacation. My prostate enlarged to the point where I could not, and we're going to use scientific terms here, doo-doo or pee-pee. Okay? That's a major enlargement. Okay? Very little sample. Very little sample of cancer. However, my enlargement almost killed me. And this is why. Because I'm a man, I don't want to run right to the doctor. 2 o'clock in the morning, I wake up, I can't make a bowel movement, and I can't pee. So I started drinking vinegar. I started drinking tea, thinking this thing was going to get better. It did not. 5 or 6 hours later, I'm telling my wife, you need to go to the drugstore. I didn't know how this thing worked. You need to get me a catheter. And they said, well, no, you just can't go to the drugstore and get a catheter. You need a prescription to get a catheter. So they rushed me to emergency room. The amount of, I almost went into sepsis. The amount of urine that was gathered out of my bladder was the size of a small baby. When the doctor came in, the doctor could not believe it. He says, this alone could have killed you. Now, looking back on it, prior to this, I was getting up. I didn't have the night sweats that Lynn had, but I was getting up 4 and 5 times a night just to pee. So I had warning signs because I was getting up 4 and 5 times a night. I mean, I get up at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock just to pee. And my urine flow wasn't efficient at all. But I just, no big deal until it completely closed up, and I couldn't do either. So they put me forward back to the hospital. They put a catheter in me. They released me of all the urine, and they said, well, okay, you can go. I said, well, you gonna take this catheter out? No, Mr. Mitchell, we're gonna hook you up to a bag until we can get you to a urologist. So I'm walking around with a catheter, with a bag. At 59 years old, I'm walking with a bag hooked to my leg. I couldn't believe this, you know. I, personal trainer, I'm Mr. Health. There's no way in the world I'm walking around with a bag. I'm a massage therapist now, I'm a personal trainer. I'm Mr. Health. I'm walking around with a bag tied to my leg. There's no way in the world this is happening to me. So a week later, after they've given me some medication to reduce the swelling of my prostate, I go to the urologist. They take the the catheter out, only 2 hours later, my prostate closed back up. I start going into bladder spasms. If you've ever had a bladder spasm, if a man is out there, it is the closest thing that, and this is a nurse described it, it's the closest thing to going through a contraction. I mean, your whole body completely aches. Right? I mean, it's from the waist down. It's horrible. So I rushed back to the emergency room. They put another catheter in, and that catheter stayed in me for another about 30 days until they could get an appointment.
Whoa.
So
Whoa.
I'm working with the catheter. I'm keeping this thing secret. Nobody know about this thing but me and my wife and my kids. I'm walking around with a catheter. Fast forward, now go to the urologist. Urologist tells me, Mr. Mitchell, we're going to have to remove your prostate. You have to remove it. I'm like, no, because I still got some tread on this wheel, man. You ain't going to just take my prostate. He said, I said, what other options do I have? He said, okay. He said, oh, this is what we do. We can either do chemotherapy, right? Or we're going to remove your prostate. I said, well, you told me at first that 1/10 of one sample of is cancerous. Now, the samples that they pull out of you doing this very painful process, I'm sorry, I don't want to scare you. I want to scare you into life. I don't want to scare you into, not getting none of it's done, because it saved me. I'm telling you. Is about the size of a piece of meat that you pick out of your tooth. Imagine 1/10 of that is cancerous. So now the doctor is ready to take my whole prostate out.
Oh, man.
I did my own research and I looked up simple prostatectomy. A simple prostatectomy, they go in, they robotically go inside the prostate. They take all of the contents out of your prostate and not disturbing the nerves on the outside. I call them myself, I call them my swerve nerves. You know what those nerves are for, okay? You need those for erection, for all kinds of fun things that we like to do with our prostate. We need that. So he asked me the next day, he says, which would you want to do? I said, I want to do the simple prostatectomy. After the simple prostatectomy, my numbers went from 8.27 down to 1.95, and they've been like between 1 and 2 for the last 2 years. So you got to do your homework. You have to do what's good for you. You have to do this, and prostate cancer, again, it can very avoidable, very avoidable.
One of our mission statements is, I want to talk about mental health for a minute, because that seems to be the part that no one does. That every man I ever talked to about prostate cancer went through some version of depression and struggle. And I think it's overlooked. And one of the questions I want to ask, I throw it out there to the panel, is how can we overcome the stigma of having prostate cancer? Because everybody think you pretty much, I don't know what they think, but the stigma, and how did you work yourself through the depression? Who wants to go first? Lonnie? You're on mute, Lonnie.
Sorry, yes, I'll talk about that. I really advocate for the mental health piece of it all the time, because I do think that it is overlooked a great deal. And there's many variables there, because you're battling, anybody that gets the word cancer thrown at them, you're going to be you're going to be like caught off guard up there, right? And depending on the stage or the type or whatever, it gets worse with that. The second piece to that is going to be hormone therapy. And hormone therapy, which is a standard treatment for prostate cancer, takes away your testosterone. So it basically puts you in a male version of menopause. And once you don't have the testosterone, your emotions are everywhere. They're just everywhere. So you're battling that piece of it too. And what I did, and it took me a couple of years into my journey to do this, but I got to a really dark place, and I had to go seek out a therapist. One of the best things I've ever done in my life. But a lot of people don't really have the wherewithal to do that, or the maybe the self awareness to be able to, like, okay, I need to talk to somebody. And even if you're not reaching out to a therapist, it's so important to have someone in your life that you can just talk to. And they don't have to, be an expert. They don't have to, like, give you
Right.
advice. They don't have to, just to listen to you, because that's half the battle right there. So that's what I've done. I see a therapist every single week, and it's one of the best things that I've done for this journey.
Lynn, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I can understand because when everybody first get diagnosed with that word cancer, I think it do something to you. It because when the doctor told me the first thing that I had cancer, it kind of shook me up. It shook me up, and I think the only thing that brought me back to reality was my faith. My faith, and realizing that you had it, and my twin had it, and everything worked out okay. Um, I think having just a support group, having someone that that they've been through it, and you have a strong faith, or that you have a strong belief in something, that'll give you something more to focus on than focusing on the cancer itself. I'm breaking up. Did you hear me?
I
Yeah.
got you clear.
Well,
It's well said. I'd
Yeah.
like to throw out a couple of, before I go to the next question, I'd like to throw out a couple of statistics. Back in 2021, when I was diagnosed, they were the AMA was forecasting nearly 200,000 in 2023 men that would be diagnosed in the United States. And in 2 years since, the estimate for 2024 is 299 and 100 people. It's
Wow.
raised in 2 years over 100. And over the next 15 years, most doctors say it will double. This is a pending epidemic. And when you
Right.
get epidemics, everybody try to act like it's not a big deal. It's not really gonna happen to me. I know we're all there. But
Right.
what would be some sources you think that we can use to encourage men to get the basic PSA? Anybody can take that. How do you,
Basic.
go ahead, Lynn.
I think being aware, and start getting tested at an early age. I think some men should start uh, 35, even 40 years old.
mhm.
I think the whole thing is just being aware.
Kind of ironic to me that it's a debate about PSA. PSA is no more than a tool with inside of the toolbox of prostate. It's a debate about that.
Right.
But and my whole life, I've been told you need markers and benchmarks to know where you're going. And yet we're having a major discussion about PSA.
Right. Right. Right.
And the thing is that men in general have been taught that, well, you don't talk about your privates.
No.
These are your private parts.
Mhm.
You just don't bring that up. You just don't talk to nobody about your privates. Yeah, women
Yeah.
can talk about everything that's going on with them
Yeah.
from head to toe. I mean, and
Right.
can
Right.
be graphic about it. Men,
Right.
I mean, this prostate health thing, you know, is something that men have got to we got to get over ourselves, and we got to start talking about this thing on a regular basis with one another.
Right.
And no, don't be ashamed. I mean, we're not little boys anymore talking about the private parts. We're talking about life and death. And
Mm-hmm.
and the thing that the myth that's been going on for decades has been,
About
well, you're not
prostate
going to
cancer.
die of prostate cancer. You'll die with prostate cancer before you die of prostate cancer. And then
And
we look around all the time and watch all these celebrities that are, that are
Then die.
I don't know
Right.
if I don't know if that's accurate because the American Cancer Society said 35,250 men are projected to die this year of prostate cancer.
Mm,
you're absolutely right. But
5,000.
AJ, what I'm saying
mm,
is that those are
mm.
facts and those are reality facts. I'm not saying against the facts. I'm saying it's
Right.
what's said throughout the public, through
Mhm.
what people say in like basic conversation. I'm not worrying about prostate cancer. I mean, you
But
ain't gonna die of prostate cancer. You'll die
but
with it.
but to me,
Well,
Lonnie is the medical miracle because he was told he had terminal cancer. What, 7 years ago, Lonnie? Tell us a little about
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
yeah.
mm,
I asked him,
whoa.
if I just get up out of, leave your office and do nothing, what am I looking at? He said a few months to a year, and that
Whoa.
was in 2017.
See?
So
That's
it's not
yeah.
See,
it's not a death sentence necessarily.
it's,
Um, and I
it's
think a lot
amazing.
of Walter, to your point, I think a lot of people talk about the fact that you will die with it and not of it is because, typically if it's caught early enough and managed early enough, it's a very slow growing disease. So, like
Mhm.
lots of
Right.
men live with it for decades if it's
Yeah.
caught in
Right.
the very first early stages.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and circling back to one more point and then I'll shut up. Um, I talk a
No,
lot,
don't
but
shut up, man.
anyway,
We need to hear you.
I have some social media friends that have breast cancer. Women, most of my followers are women, and I've had a couple of them reach out basically with the same kind of problem or issue, and they say that their husband, cares about their breast cancer journey and wants them to like check for lumps all the time and so on and so forth. And I had a couple women almost identical reached out to me and said, I don't know how to get my husband to get his PSA checked.
Hmm.
And I said, listen, tell him that every time you check for lumps, you have to go get a PSA test,
There you go.
once a year.
Yeah.
Right.
Do it
Right.
together, go
Right.
together, and make a pact. And, just anything to get these men into getting their PSA checked is crucial. It's so crucial. And the problem is they don't know how crucial it is, but it's crucial. And starting at 40, definitely.
Yeah.
Right. I agree with you.
No joke.
Yeah, right.
Mike, did you
Mm.
have anything you wanted to add to that? No, I didn't even put that. No, it's fine. I thought you had something to say. It's okay.
No, I'm listening. I'm getting a bunch of knowledge here. I'm not opposed to saying anything, just sucking it in right now.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All of us took
Yeah.
different paths. I took protein because of my research. How did you
Right.
choose the method for treatment? Because Walter said some earlier, we told him let's just do active surveillance. I have my own thoughts about that.
Mhm.
For me, that was a
Right.
no-go. But
Right. Right.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
how did you choose your methods of treatment?
I'm ashamed to say, I really am ashamed to say that I'm a Google doctor. I'm sorry. I don't get much
Remember on that?
sadder than that. But I looked at options of prostate cancer treatment. I had never heard of a simple prostatectomy, but it had a list of different. It had active surveillance. It had
Mm-hmm.
a total prostatectomy, total
Right.
removal, different types of chemotherapy. And then when it said simple prostatectomy, I then, shame to say, but it worked. I went to YouTube and I actually saw
Right.
what they did and explained the whole thing. there's so much information out here, you know,
Right.
than
Right.
was out here 40 years ago, 20 years
Sure.
ago, 10 years ago, you know. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's up to you to choose what you think is best for you, but
Right.
you got to get that blood test, man. Get your PSA numbers to start off with. You know, I mean, I know that we're probably jumping ahead to where most people are, you know, but you have to do something when you are getting up 4 or 5 times a night to go urinate.
Right.
That's not going to get better, you know.
Yeah.
It's not going to get better. It's not going to get better with
Yeah.
time. It's not prune juice and apple juice not going to get you through that. You are dealing with an infection and more than
Right.
likely cancer. So that's when you got to jump in and do something for yourself. But like I
Right.
said,
Right.
I just looked up. I'm not an avid reader. I don't read Harry Potter. I don't read stuff like that. I read what's applicable to me in my life. And when I start to see things happening, I read about it. You know, so that's my thing. That's what
Yeah. Walter, you said something pretty good. You went in and you informed yourself.
yes.
You went and you informed yourself and you found out the information, right?
And
You
then
know,
confirm that information with the urologist, you know. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So a lot of information you already knew. You already knew when you went and got a chance to talk to the urologist
yeah,
or the oncologist. So
exactly.
you was already, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I was I
So,
mean, when you talk about total removal of your prostate, not against it
Hmm.
if it's going to save
Right,
your life, but
right,
double check to see if your situation is that advanced where you have to get your prostate removed, because
right.
that's a serious surgery, you know.
and,
So
Hmm.
there's no turning back. They're not going to be able to put it back in once they take it out. So
and the whole
Right.
journey is for information, to eliminate the stigma, to bring awareness. That's how we defeat this cancer. The problem is that 4 years ago, I'm not even sure I knew what a prostate was. I think I knew in the back of
Hmm.
my head, and I didn't even know what a urologist did.
yeah.
Right.
Anybody else sure about a urologist before they
Mm-mm.
needed a urologist?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Not before I
Not
was
at all.
40.
That's kind of odd
Not
to
at
me
all.
because there's not a person in the United States that, I guess our counterpart would be the OBGYN. I've never, and everybody know about that. I was wondering why you think men don't know about urologists.
Hmm. Because men don't go to the doctor. A lot of men
There
don't
we
go to
go.
the doctor.
There we go. And you get
Mm.
referred to a urologist. I mean,
Right.
it's one of those things. I mean, your
Oncologist.
doctor
Right.
runs into something with your prostate that
Right.
he or she can't handle or know
Mm-hmm.
nothing about, then they
Right.
refer you to a urologist. You know,
Right.
that's what happened with me. I got referred to a urologist. I would have never thought to go to a urologist, you know,
Right. Right.
but
Right.
yeah, never. So you get referred by getting your checkups. You know,
Right.
get your checkups and annual physicals. You gotta go do this thing, man. You
You
gotta
gotta
go
go.
annual physicals. If nothing else, get an annual physical. Ask them, may I have my PSA numbers? Matter of fact, ask them. I
Ask
need
him.
my PSA numbers.
I need to
Yes.
know him. Yeah. I need
Yeah,
to know.
yeah. And no more
Exactly.
digits, man. No more fingers. No more fingers. All you need is blood, because there's nothing more demeaning. I'm telling you right now, oh God, I hated it with a passion. I couldn't talk to nobody for the rest of the day. I just locked myself in the room and just went.
Yeah.
I
So
hate it.
when you started your journey, is there any questions you wish you would have asked on the onset?
That's a good question.
That's a real good question. Come on, Lonnie. That's a real good one.
So I'll answer that in a kind of a different way. What I did at the beginning of my journey was I asked a lot of questions. I gained a lot of knowledge. I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of listening. I did a lot of watching videos, much like Walter did. The problem with that was that I spent too much time on that and not focusing on the emotional impact that it was all having on me. And it was not good, and it caught up with me. And I would say to anybody, if they're, the questions can be answered in multitudes of different ways. I think Len said there's so much information out there. And so, I think for me, I wish I had slowed down and not been so like I'm gonna be a warrior. I'm going to learn all the things. I'm going to eat the right stuff. I'm going to make the right decisions. And I think that if I had slowed down to let my emotional capacity catch up a little bit, I would have been a much better state. So as far as like specific questions, I can't think of anything necessarily that I would have asked.
That's well said, Lonnie. That's well said. I'm not a patient gentleman. I'm not a patient gentleman. I did the same thing. When somebody tell you had cancer, your natural reaction is, I had to get this up out of me.
Yeah.
I found myself on a table with a doctor that I didn't even want, and she was moving forward before I even said. And thank God I got the wherewithal to say, I just need to stop this moving too fast.
Right,
and that's the best move I did. Stop and think. So that's what I think.
Right.
Make sure you get a good urologist.
A good one.
Yeah.
No, sir. So make sure you get a good urologist who will sit and speak with you, because I had one that when I went to him, I think at the second time I went to him, he acted like I was bothering him, and he pissed me off real bad. And I left him, and then he asked, "How come you don't come anymore?" I said, "Because you're sitting down there recording the appointment instead of listening to me." And I told him, I said, when I was younger, I was a different type of person. I would have attacked you because you're ignoring me, and this is my health, my life is at stake. And he got scared. He started to pick up. I think he picked up the phone and called Prince George's County police on him.
Yeah, he was on his way.
Oh yeah, he's covered.
Yeah, and then when I went for a follow-up, I found out that he didn't tell any of his patients he went back to Barbados, where he was originally from.
No, man.
Whoa.
It sound like you took control. That's what I preach every day. Sound like you took control.
You have to.
Yeah, well, I had to, because my life was at stake. And I will say this. Now I'm a 8-year survivor now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And, when they initially, I found out that I was diagnosed 2 weeks before my 60th birthday. So my general practitioner, I said, "Oh, that's a heck of a birthday present for you to tell me I got prostate cancer." But I will say that I'm not sure if you can say it's genetic, but I know it's familial because my father had it. And I had 3 adult sons, and the oldest one is 44. And I've been telling you, and I have one that's 27. And I told him, I said, because your granddad had it, I was diagnosed. I want you all to yearly go get examined. I'm like, you all have families, you're married, you got families. I told him, I advise you to bring your wife in on this too, because no matter what's going to happen, it's going to affect both of your lives.
Yes, it is.
And
exactly.
I'm an advocate, and the question I think all you all know that most men ask, how's that going to affect my performance? And I've gone far to say, well, I don't think that should be your general concern. I said, because if you did, you don't have no performance.
No performance.
Good point.
But
Well said. Good point.
there you go.
But that's the
That'll be a good one.
that's the
That'll be a good one.
yeah, that's the bottom line.
Yep.
Yeah.
You want to be here because you're sacrificing too much if you don't go to the doctor.
Right.
You know,
You get
the medical community goes back and forth on PSA, but it is a marker. Nobody's talking that. It's just a tool in the toolbox.
right.
William said it best. He has sons. He knows it's genetic. And in my family, remember, we know it's genetic.
Yeah.
Genetics. Right.
And
Yeah.
so, at what age? Because the medical community says 50. What age? I tell my son who's 40. I made him go get it. And I
For a black man, no. I'm telling you, for a black man,
yes.
like I said, I've even walked up to young brothers, like in a grocery store parking lot, and I said, look, I'm an older black gentleman. I said, I'm saying something to you. I'm telling sharing some information with us because I want you to know we have the highest mortality rate and the highest incident rate of prostate cancer.
Yeah, that's right.
I went into a barber shop because I take information with me wherever I go. And the young fella asked me, well, why is it that it affects us such a degree as far as other ethnicities? I say, look, I'm not a geneticist, I'm not a biochemist, I'm not a biologist. I don't know. It's just the way our bodies are made. It's not always affected by your diet. It's just something that happens to us to a higher degree than other ethnicities.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I told him I wish I had an answer for you, young man, but I don't. I said, but now I said, when you reach, I told him, I said, I don't know how old you are. It's none of my business. I said, but when you at least reach 35, start paying attention.
Right.
I remember
Exactly.
I went to a meeting, like I live in the DMV, Maryland District in Virginia, Prince George County. And this is going to probably sound unbelievable. There was a young man, 17 years old, that was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Come on.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
I
that
believe it.
was an anomaly, but still, it occurred.
It's not an anomaly to him. It's not an anomaly to him. It's real to him. And that's what I feel. Whether I'm a guy, I'm an HR guy, and everything they ever taught us about, whether it's finances, HR, is always have flow and trend. Always have a benchmark and track how things are going. That's how you tell trends and patterns.
Exactly.
PSA is your best tool to tell your trend and patterns.
Yes. And that I think the best thing I've heard is William telling his sons, you know, talk to your sons, talk to the young men in your lives, in passing, instead of talking about football and stuff all the time, talk about, instead of TikTok videos,
normalize it.
Prostate cancer.
Normalize the conversation.
Yeah,
normalize it. I like it. Normalize it.
Hey, have you gotten your PSA number? And I mean, I will pick a person and I will beat that person up until they tell me that, yes, I got my PSA numbers. I did. I got my PSA numbers. You got to tell me what they are. I just want to know that you did it. I don't know. I don't know, because there's nothing I can do about it if I do know.
Let me share this with, you know what? We had like 50 something, and only a few people decided it was that important to show up, or they got busy, life happens. Sure. My point is, why I'm saying that is, we had the Secretary of Defense fell for the stigma that he was embarrassed. This guy, this is Secretary of Defense. I read his bio. This guy's a Ranger, airborne qualified, on Afghanistan. That's what happened in my hometown.
Right.
And he was embarrassed. This guy is a manly man, and he was embarrassed of this disease. And I see so many men when you talk to them, and I get so many questions, AJ, why are you doing this? Because I all I can speak is for AJ. Is
Right.
when I was laying on
Right.
that slab, that table, going through proton, all I was thinking, this don't make no damn sense. Somebody should have told
Right.
me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you something that's gonna make you laugh. That's gonna make y'all laugh. When I went for my biopsy, the nurse turned around smiling, and I looked at her, and I said, "Look, I know what you're smiling at." And she said, "Why am I smiling?" I said, "Cause look." I said, "Ma'am," I said, "Look, I know you're a nurse." I said, "You smiling because now you say, oh, you know how I feel when I go get my OBGYN exam because you got your feet up in stirrups."
Yes. Yes.
I looked at her and said,
Nurses
"That
love it.
job ain't funny." I was joking
No,
with. I was looking at. I said, "That job ain't funny."
no, nurses love, to see us vulnerable. They
Yeah,
just love it.
yeah,
They see us in a vulnerable situation and looking
yeah,
nervous and scared. They just eat
Yeah,
it up.
it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I was just laying. But look, I was just laying there. I was just laying there laughing to tell you the truth, because I'm like, yeah. Look, I know what it's all about. Hey,
Oh yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
ain't no big
It's,
thing.
Yeah.
I want
it's
to
uncomfortable
share
too.
something with most of you already know. Every 2 minutes, a man is being diagnosed with this.
Hmm.
And every 2 minutes, and we're having problems spreading the word. Mike, I see your hand. You had your hand up, Mike. Go ahead.
So I really want to appreciate you guys for doing this. AJ and I go way back, and he's been really uh, instrumental for me. And man, I was diagnosed. I do not have a diagnosis yet for whatever it is.
Mm.
But I had my biopsy last Friday,
Okay.
Mm.
and they did there's another flow test going through my penis, the
Mm.
as well.
Right.
And I hear everybody saying, go to the doctor. Well, I was one of the guys that religiously going, I'm gonna go to the
Mm.
doctor. But the mistake I made was kind of the blind faith of our community tells us, hey, your doctor knows best, trust your doctor.
Right.
So, man, long story short, man, I've been wearing doggone pads for 3 years because I
I
pee so much.
understand. I
I've
understand.
been
Yeah.
peeing. I've been peeing. My nights were so disruptive. I bought a urinal, then I started measuring my urine. I'm urinating anywhere from 12 to 2,000 mils a night.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of pressure.
And
Yeah, it is.
the insult to injury when AJ and I connected,
Yes.
he was like, dude, what, that ain't normal. He had to shake me because my doctor had me thinking, okay, you 55 years old, your prostate just swelled because they'd already, they did an ultrasound and it was 3 times the size it should be.
Right.
Right.
And here I am thinking, well, doctor knows what they're talking about. She kept me on the medicine that as soon as I got to the urologist last Friday, first words they said was, you should have only taken finasteride 6 months because it
Because
masks
a
your
lot.
PSA.
Whoa.
And
To master
it masks. Once you take the finasteride more than 6 months, you
It's
have
not
to
accurate
double
reading.
it. You don't get an accurate reading. So even when you take your
Right.
PSA,
wow.
you have to double it.
Mm-hmm.
And this fool this woman gave me a medicine that the protocol 6 months. I still have 3 more 90-day refills she's giving me on that medicine. Her intent for me was to stay on that damn medicine until
Right. It
When
gets
they
whatever.
told me
severe.
that, I lost it. I lost it when they told me that. I'm like,
Yeah, it gets severe.
So you were
Yeah.
suffering from incontinence then?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Well,
don't make no sense.
yeah, all of it, because she knew
Right.
I had. They explained it to me. Your prostate should be around 2, size 2, and I was size 6+.
Mm-hmm.
And now
Jesus.
I'm even bigger. My prostate's
Mm.
even bigger than that. And I'm thinking in my head, okay, well, I pee pretty good. No, you pee a lot.
A lot, not
Yeah,
efficient.
right.
Not
Because
efficient.
when they did the flow test,
So
I
what's
should be
going
at
on?
25. I'm at 15. I think I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It should be 25. I'm at 15.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
And that's what I'm saying is, I
Yeah.
hear you guys, and what you guys are saying is absolutely right.
Mhm.
But it's even more when you going to the doctor thinking that you're doing, you
Right.
being
Right.
healthy, you trying to
Yeah.
do what's best, so you're here for your family.
Right. Right.
I'm doing fine. What the doctor tells me
Right.
is more than that. The education piece has got to be to where you know what you're saying. Do your research.
Yes.
Read them doggone meds.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Any
Right.
of them. Because I was just blindly taking the meds for over a year.
You are
Right.
your best advocate.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You
Yes,
are
sir.
your
Right.
best advocate.
amen.
And,
Yeah.
and,
Amen.
and I'm gonna tell you
Yeah.
something. And if your prostate kept enlarging like that, she should have recommended Lupron, a Lupron shot,
Right.
something like that, to help shrink it.
Right.
He
She
did
didn't
nothing.
recommend that.
Could
I
it?
mean, I don't know her. I'm not going to defame a medical professional because I'm not a medical professional.
Right.
She should have done better
Well, could it?
by you. She should have done better
Right.
by you. I mean, that's my opinion.
Right.
I got to say,
Yes.
an opinion
Right.
like buttholes. Everybody got one,
Yeah.
but that's
Right.
my opinion.
We're
No,
talking
you're right.
about people who went through the journey. We know
Mm.
that if you've been through that journey, all of us had to take control of the wheel and tell that doctor, no,
Right.
you're not
Right.
running this.
Right.
We're working together, but you got to drive that car.
You got to
Yes.
tell them. Yep. You got to
Yeah.
tell them.
Yeah.
Because, because AJ, I told you my situation. He wanted me to go to Texas. The urologist wanted me to go to Texas, and they had some type of new treatment where they freeze the prostate
Yeah.
and it killed the cancer. It killed the cancer. And I told him, I told him I really didn't want to go to Texas. I said, well, just give me the radiation because the radiation, it did well on my brother. Give me the
Did he see
radiation.
the implants?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
I
had
did.
those too.
Right. But he was
Yeah.
trying to send me to Texas.
Mm.
And I live in Mobile.
You have to control that that enlargement of the prostate at all costs, because that is such a scary thing to go through. I mean, and then your wife goes in with you to the urologist, and because you're sitting in there with a catheter, the urologist tells right in front of your wife, we'll have to remove it to save his life. We have to remove it to save his life. And so I'm thinking that, yeah, my wife is sitting there scared to death, and I'm sitting there, I'm nervous for her. And when and what I had gone through, yeah, it would scare the person. I mean, you're thinking that your bladder, you're going through bladder damage because you cannot urinate at all. You can't even have a bowel movement for over 5 or 6 hours. The first thing hits your mind is, I'm gonna do whatever this doctor tells me. But the reality is you are your own advocate. You have to do your due diligence to
Yes, you
really,
do.
really do your research and find out what
Mm-hmm.
your options are before
Mm-hmm.
you let a doctor take total control of your situation. You have
Right.
to do your research.
Absolutely.
You have to do it. It's your body. You know, you
Yeah.
have to do this thing, man. You know.
And I know
Exactly.
we're running up against time, and I want to ask one final question because we're running up against time. Is there anything, let's do a round, give everybody a chance. Is there anything, any takeaway you want to add to this conversation? Because we've had some meaningful talks. And if I leave you with nothing else, forget the stigma, take control of your journey. And let's start in reverse order. Walter, you went last. You can go first. That's the intro.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Would you have anything to add? Do you have anything to add that hadn't been said?
No, I just like what William said. You know, talk to the young men in your life. You know, that's the thing that I think it will be. You know, talk to these young soldiers, man. Get these guys at the reality and letting them know what we have gone through, and let them know that everything that we have gone through is very avoidable. But you gotta do this thing early in your life. You know, that's the
If I
biggest
can
thing.
interject something, Mike, you shared a lot of passionate stuff. Thank you for sharing. But all of us have been there. All of us have been exactly where you're at. I mean, and the frustrations with doctors, the fear and the range of emotions. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for, but you're not alone. What I
No.
found is there's thousands of men behind you. It's just
Mm-hmm.
ashamed to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Lynn,
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry. Lynn.
Okay. What I think about a man is that sometimes we get so busy checking in on everybody else, want to make sure everybody else is okay. You want to make sure everybody okay. The question needs to be, are you okay?
There you go.
Are you okay?
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
whether it's mental, physical, and we men, we're proud. We're proud. We don't discuss our business to other men.
Mm,
We don't. We don't.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And Lonnie, take us
Okay.
out.
So yeah, first of all, Mike, you've got a journey ahead of you. I wish you well. Any of us will pick up the phone, I'm sure, if
Mhm.
you ever
All
need to
right.
chat.
Thank you.
Secondly, I heard some talk about familiar genetics. Maybe it was William that talked about he made his son go get a PSA, which is great. But I did have genomic testing done, and I don't know if any of you have. I don't know
Right.
if my insurance covered it, but I didn't know if they ordered it because I was like late stage. I don't know. But the fascinating thing that I found out about genomic testing and the mutated genes, I have two bad ones, but the fascinating thing that I found out was that because I have the gene mutations, two of them, that means all of the males in my immediate family, which means my siblings, my parents, my nephews, uh, all have a 40% increased risk of prostate cancer. That also means that all of the females in my immediate family, siblings, parents, nieces, have a 70% increased risk for breast cancer. That's significant. Um, and so, if you have the opportunity to get genomic testing done, I highly recommend it. When I had it done, it wasn't as prevalent as it probably is today because I think it's going forward at a very quick pace. The science of it is. So that means, tell your siblings, tell your parents, tell whoever, your nieces and nephews, that there's an issue, and it's just another red flag, much like a PSA is. PSA I call as a red flag. It's not a
It is.
concrete thing of cancer, but it's a red flag, and so is genomic testing. So food for thought on that.
Something going on.
Hey, AJ,
Yes.
let me add, Lonnie, you just said that my urologist last Friday, they did DNA genetic testing with me. as a part of my
Good.
whole work.
Good. And
So
you'll
that's
get a
good to know.
consultation out of that.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Not only share with the guys in your life, share with the women if you had genetic. 70%. That's huge.
That's
It's
huge.
significant.
That's a big number.
Yeah.
That's
God,
huge.
dog.
Yeah, it is.
My heart got great information, great conversation. Anybody we all communicate. If you ever need anybody to talk to, we're all here. You have an army of men
Yeah.
behind you. They might
Mhm.
be behind you, but they're behind you. And we love
Mhm.
you all. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for participating in this first forum. It's only going to get better from here. We're going to make people talk about it. We got to make the irregular regular.
There you go.
Got to save lives. So
Yep.
That's right.
Okay.
thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank
First
you.
Thing Race Health Prostate Cancer Forum. Thanks. Love y'all. And take care.
Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
Thank you.
Good night.
Love you back,
All
bro.
right, man. All right, brother.
Yeah,
Take
good
care.
one.